Good morning, everyone. How are you? Today we are talking about Unit 1 in Connect Plus Students Book. The unit is called At the Track. The first word we have here is the word athlete. What do we mean by an athlete? An athlete is a person who is very good at sports or any physical exercise. What does that mean? It means that an athlete is a person who does sports as his job. For example, if you know our famous football player, Muhammad Salah, he is an athlete. Why? Because he is good at playing football and he does this as his job. So he is an athlete. An athlete is a person who practices a sport, any kind of sports, as you can see here. A football player, a basketball player, a runner, tennis player, weightlifter, and volleyball, jumping, throwing, all these people, we call them athletes. As an example, we have the famous swimmer, Tim Phillips is an athlete. Tim Phillips is a worldwide known swimmer, and we call him an athlete because he is very good at the swimming sport. Number 2, we have the word track. What is a track? A path or rough road that usually surrounds fields. A track is something that athletes and players and runners use it to make races or to make competitions, or they use it just to warm up, to get ready for a match or a race or a competition. As you can see, a track, we can find it around a field where runners can go round and round for races or for just warming up. The example here, the runners are on the track getting ready to start the race. Next, we have sports event. What do we mean by a sports event? A contest in which people compete individually or as teams for the purpose of winning a race, game, contest, or other competition. A sports event is where many kinds of sports are done at the same time, at the same competition, which means that we can find at the same time people playing throwing or jumping, high jump, long jump, gymnastics, all these kinds of sports at the same time, and some people are competing at each sport separately. As an example, many athletes participate in the sports event every year. Number 4, a competition. A competition is an organized event in which people try to win a prize by being the best, fastest, etc. A competition is like a race or a challenge between people where each one of them wants to win this competition or to come in the first place or to win the cup or to be the best. Example, Emily entered the crossword competition and won the first place. A field. A field is an area usually covered with grass, used for playing sports. We have many kinds of fields. Here, as you can see, this is a football field where players can play a football match. Or we have a field that we know where sheep or cows or cattle can graze there, move around just to eat grass or go around for a while. Next, we have the runner. Who is the runner? The runner is someone who runs, especially in competitions. For example, Tom is a long distance runner. He runs for long distances. And people run till one of them reaches the final line, the end line of the race, and then he wins. Next, we have sports center. What is a sports center? It is a building where you can play different sports like judo, karate, taekwondo. For example, she teaches skating at the University Sports Center. A sports center is a closed building where people go there to do many kinds of sports. As you can see, some people are doing gymnastics and some people are doing karate, boxing, and this is something like a gym, swimming, okay? All these things, we can find them in a building which is called the sports center. Next, we have the cyclist. Who is a cyclist? A cyclist is someone who rides a bicycle or motorcycle. For example, the cyclist is preparing his bike for the race. A cyclist goes for races to win, and cyclists go on races in on roads, on normal roads, or on rough roads and around mountains and these things. Next, we have measurement. What do we mean by measurement? The size, length, or amount of something. The measurements are when we want to know the height of something or the weight of something. And as for sports, as I told you before, there is a sport like throwing sport where an athlete stands in the middle of a circle like that and he starts throwing the spear or the metal ball that he has in his hand. After throwing it, they just measure the distance that the ball or the spear reached. And as you can see, these numbers are the measurements that they have done for the athletes who competed in the throwing sport. Next, we have a unit. What is a unit? A standard measure that is used to express amounts, to tell us how much do we have of something or how long. A centimeter is a unit of length. Units are things that we use to measure also, but after knowing the distance or the measurement of something, we write the number and write next to it the unit that we used to measure it. Like we can use meters, centimeters, kilometers for length of things, kilograms, grams, and liter for the weight of things. Next, world record. What do we mean by a world record? It is the best achievement in the world so far in a particular activity, especially a sport. For example, in 2012, German free driver Tom Sitas held his breath underwater for 22 minutes and 22 seconds, setting the world record for holding his breath. What happened? An athlete, a German athlete, could hold his breath under the water for 22 minutes and 22 seconds, which is a very, very long time. And it is very difficult to do this thing unless you are trained and you did a lot of trials and your breath started to get better and better till you reach something like that. That's why what this German athlete has done is called a world record. It's the best score in something in the whole world. World record. As you can see here, we have something which is called Guinness World Records. What is Guinness World Records? It is something like a book that records all the best scores, wins, and all these things in the whole world. And if an athlete broke an old world record, to break the old world record and score a new one, he or she will be recorded in the Guinness World Record, and this is something which is very, very, very exciting and very good to be recorded in an important book like the Guinness book. The last noun here is the rumor. What is a rumor? It is a piece of news that might be true or invented and quickly spread from person to person. So a rumor is something that someone most of the time lie about or invent it out of the blue and just keep telling it to all people around, and the people around keep telling it to other people, telling it to other people. This is a rumor, something that spreads very, very quickly. And most of the time, it is a lie. They are information that are not true. Let's read the examples. There are rumors that they are making a new film. The second example, there is a rumor that the king is dead. This rumor may be true or wrong, but most of the time a rumor is wrong information, a lie. Next,
Let's now discuss the verbs. The verbs here start with compete. What do we mean by compete? To compete means to challenge someone else to win. Here it is written to take part in a race or competition to try to be more successful than someone. It means that people are competing each other. It means that they are trying to challenge each other, so one of them would win the race or the competition or the match. Let's read the example. The two athletes are competing for the gold medal. This means that they are challenging each other for one of them to win the gold medal. Number two, to warm up. What do we mean by warm up? To warm up means to do gentle exercises before a sport. It means that you are trying to get ready for a match or a race, so you do some exercises so your body would be ready for a match or a race. Let's read the example. The football players were warming up before the match. Number three, to train. What do we mean by train? To practice a sport or exercise in order to prepare for a competition. To practice a sport means that you are trying to know how would you do this sport in the best way. To train, like the coach that trains his team. Let's read the example. Maya trained hard for the race, which means she got lots of practice to win the race easily. Number four, to score. What do we mean to score? To get points in a game. Like, for example, in the football match, they score goals by kicking the ball into the net. The example here, he scored just before halftime to put Liverpool 2-1 ahead. To score also means to get your points or to get your marks. For example, you can say that you have scored 100% or you have scored the full mark in your test. Number five, to measure. What do we mean by measure? To find the size, weight, or amount of something. To measure, you know that we sometimes can measure the length of things, like when you use the ruler or you use the measuring tape to measure the length of things. and you can measure the size of it, or you can measure the weight of it on the balance. Okay, these are all things that we can measure them. The example says you need to measure out 2 cups of flour to bake a cake. Next, we have to come in first or second. What do we mean by to come in first or second? To know your position after finishing the race or the competition. To finish a race in first or second position. For example, as you can see in this picture, that these are the 3 winners of a competition or a race. This one scored the first position, which means he came in first. This one came in second, and this one came in third. And they are rewarded by gold medal for the first winner, the first position, silver medal for the second position, and bronze medal for the third position. The example here, Ben came in second in the spelling bee competition. Here we have to pressure. What do we mean to pressure? To pressure means to try to force someone to do something, which means that you are trying to let someone do what you want, even if he doesn't want to do that. This is to force or to pressure him to do it. Example, they are putting pressure on me to make a decision. They are forcing you to make a quick decision. And you can pressure or be under pressure at work or about studying, to be under the pressure of finishing this thing. Here we have the classwork that says complete using words from the box. The words are runner, sports event, track, cyclist, athlete, competition, competed, measured, and unit. Another one here, the was fixing his bicycle for the that is organized by the government. Who do you think we should write here? The was fixing his bicycle. Who uses a bicycle? That's correct. A cyclist. So we are going to use here the word cyclist. The cyclist was fixing his bicycle for the that is organized by the government. What do you think we are going to choose here? Yes, the sports event. The sports event is an event that is organized by someone, because it would be a great competition with many sports in it. Let's go to number 2. Sam is a fast. He runs around every day. What do you think we should use here? Yes, sure. He is a fast runner. That's correct. He runs around every day. Where do runners run? Around the track. They run around the track. Tim is he is a famous basketball player. A famous basketball player. So what would he be? He is practicing a sport and he is famous. Yes, he is an athlete. Next, the students in a spelling. The students, what do they do? Yes, competed. They competed. They all are challenging each other and they all want to win. The students competing in a spelling competition. Excellent. Number 5. The meter is the to the length. The meter is the, yes, is the unit. To, what do we do with this unit? We measure. This is the action that we do. We measure the length. Correctly underline the mistake. This is exercise B. The team scored a new sports event. Do we score a sports event? No. We score a new, as you can see. The team scored a new world record. This is what we score. Next, my brother won in the cycling measurement. My brother won in the cycling. Yes, he won a competition. Number 3, the rabbit is a great cyclist. Wow. So the rabbit is a great runner. That's correct. And we all know that the rabbit can run very fast. The coach scores the player to be fit. The coach. What does the coach do? He trains the player. He trains us to know how to do this sport well. Number 5, athletes have to be measured before they start the competition. For sure, measuring is a wrong word, as we know, it is an underlined mistake. Athletes have to before they start the competition. Yes, they have to warm up before they start. They have to warm up before they start. Now let's discuss the homework part. Exercise A, choose the correct answer. The team likes to before the match. What do we do before the match? That's correct. Warm up. To warm up. Next, he won the race and broke the world record competition over. Broke, yes, the world record. He broke the world record. He got a new one. He scored a new one. He became famous all over the world, as you can see. The engineer took the competition track measurements of the room. Yes, the engineer took the measurements. He measured the parts of the room and recorded the measurements, wrote them down. The news that his mother was killed was just a field rumor or unit. Yes, it was just a rumor, something that spreads around easily and People are not sure of it. He trained, scored, pressured 3 goals in the same match. 3 goals? Yes, he scored. Exercise B, correct the underlined mistake. I always go in first in most of the competitions. Go in first, this is the wrong word that we need to replace. I always, that's correct. Come in first. Next, the herdsman is taking care of his sheep in the track. The herdsman is taking care of his sheep in the track. No, not in the track. Where can we find the sheep? Yes, in the field. That's correct. The swimmer broke the old and won the race. What do you think? He broke the old? Yes, the old world record. He got a new world record. The helmet protects the head while racing. The helmet protects the head. Protects the field's head while racing. Whose head would a helmet protect? Yes, the cyclist's. The cyclist's head. He agreed to travel with them under great measure. He agreed to travel with them under great, yes, pressure. They tried to force him to travel with them, and in the end he agreed to travel with them under great pressure. Thank you. I wish this was beneficial for you. Good luck.